Is it even possible to make a good live action adaptation of an existing cartoon movie? Let's talk about the new live action How to Train Your Dragon. Let's talk about what went right and what went wrong. So first off, what went right? They really did a good job of sticking to the original storyline. I really enjoyed that the movie progressed exactly how I expected from having seen the cartoon, and there weren't any major deviations in the plot or the characters. One change that they did make was increasing the diversity of Berk, which is the island where the plot takes place. So in order to increase the diversity, they had to explain it, right? So originally the Isle of Berk is just populated by Vikings. And so everybody there would look pretty similar. They'd all just be white Nordic people. And so to change that up, they actually made it so that this was all of the warriors from people who had been attacked by dragons kind of all over the world. So they brought up that there were people from all sorts of different places, and that's why so many of the people in this area look different. Here's what I really liked about that. It actually increases the scope of the world. So it's really good for world building. So it establishes that there are other countries and other places, and it establishes that dragons are a problem in all of these places. I also liked that it explained why the people would continue to live on this island that is constantly raided. Because one, they want to take out the dragons because they know the nest is nearby. So that's why they specifically are in this place. Their job is to go out and find that nest. So I like that they made that an integral part of what's going on. And then two, they've established that dragons are an issue everywhere. So it's not like this is a specific problem to this specific island. It's just worse here because it's closer to this nest. So I thought they actually did a really good job explaining the diversity, adding diversity, doing some world building. I thought that was really great. I thought this was a good change to the movie overall. Could they have kept it exactly the same? Absolutely they could have. Let's talk about the relationship between Hiccup and Toothless the dragon. They nailed it. I actually can't believe that someone acting in a CGI movie where all of the dragons are CGI. So I have no idea what they used as a stand-in for Toothless. But they really got the chemistry down with the chemistry between Toothless and Hiccup so that he really seemed like he was interacting with this dragon, and they did that so well. Another thing they did really well was just the dragons in general. I wasn't sure how well CGI dragons were going to go, although from the trailers I had a pretty good idea of what they were going to look like, and ultimately I really liked how they did it. They looked like really legitimate dragons, but they also looked just like the dragons from the cartoon. I do think something to be said with the realistic CGI dragons is that even in the original cartoon, you'd look at some of these dragons and be like, well, that's kind of ridiculous. There's no way that dragon could fly. And you kind of feel that way even more when they're CGI dragons interacting with like the real world. Something like the Grunkle, which would clearly be a dragon not actually capable of flight unless there is some sort of bending of the laws of physics for this movie. It was an even more apparent issue with the CGI dragons in the real world. Overall, I liked the way they portrayed the dragons. I liked that they stuck to the cartoon as the sort of source for those dragons, and they made them look like those dragons just brought into the real world. And I thought overall the casting was really good. I love that they had Gerard Butler reprise this role. He was so good as Stoic the Vast in the cartoon, and I love that they brought him back. And I absolutely thought when they had announced that they were doing this live action remake, I thought they should just have Gerard Butler play the dad again because he did such a good job in the cartoon. I also thought that Hiccup did a great job. I was really, really impressed with his ability to portray this awkward youth trying to become a Viking who also then develops this nice bond with this dragon and then eventually teaches the others how to fly dragons. And those were the only two characters that I really cared about because they're sort of the main characters who have conflict, and they were great. Those were the best. Toothless the dragon was also amazing. They did a great job for it being a CGI dragon interacting with a human in the real world. It was phenomenal. The flying scenes where Toothless and Hiccup are flying, they did a really good job with that. All of the visuals were amazing. I was very impressed. So here's what I think went wrong. The problem with adapting a cartoon into a realistic live action movie is that sometimes stuff in the cartoon just doesn't work as well with real people. So a big chunk where I saw this was with the other teens who are training to fight dragons with Hiccup. They're all sort of caricatures, which is fine because they're cartoons. So Astra does have more of a personality, and then she's also able to grow, and they did develop her character a little bit more in the live action adaptation. But the other characters who are training are Snotlout, who picks himself up, but he's not that great in reality, and he has a lot of excuses when he messes up. Then you have Fishlegs, who is the heavyset one. and he knows everything about dragons. He knows all their stats and how to defeat them intellectually, but he's not so good at doing the real thing because of course they're all still learning. And then you have the twins, Rough Nut and Tough Nut, and they fight a lot. That's kind of their thing. They're not really very good at fighting the dragons because they're constantly bickering. And the boy twin gets hurt a lot every time he says, "Oh, I'm hurt. I am very much hurt." And it's really funny in the cartoon. So they kept these characters virtually identical in the live action movie. And the problem with that was they just don't come across as realistic people because people wouldn't necessarily act this caricature-like. It made more sense in the cartoon to me, and I didn't think it was as good in the live action adaptation. I just didn't feel that human connection with them as actual humans in the live action adaptation. I felt like they were better as cartoons. The other thing I felt went wrong with this live action adaptation is that when you take it from cartoon to live action, it just becomes a lot darker. It's a movie about dragons killing humans and humans killing dragons. And when it's a cartoon, you just don't feel like it's real. You're not as invested in the humans and dragons who might be killed. But once you bring it into live action, these are real people. And even though they're still a movie and they're not really being killed, the village loses a lot of people in looking for this dragon's nest, and a lot of dragons die. And now they're real people, and it just feels much darker. I did think that they did a really good job with it. I thought it was great. My daughter loved it. She said she preferred the live action adaptation to the cartoon. We both just really enjoyed it. It was a super fun outing, and the theater we went to was amazing. And I probably have a whole separate video about the great experience we had at this theater. I thought this was a great adaptation. I thought sticking to the source material was a great choice. I thought the casting was great. I thought the changes they made a lot of sense. I did think a couple of the scenes and stuff that they decided to add didn't really add anything overall, aside from, like I said, some potential world building that you can now imagine there is a larger world out there. And that the only things that I really didn't like were the other teens who I felt didn't make as much sense in the live action adaptation, that maybe they needed to change those characters a little bit, or maybe they needed different actors. I'm not really sure. And that I thought the movie just overall felt a little bit darker. So I like the fun, colorful cartoon. That's just how I feel about that. But overall, I'd say this was a great movie, and it was really cool to see the live action adaptation of it. I hope you found this video helpful. Please like and subscribe.